Well, hi there. Warm welcome. You're watching Decoding Now, and I'm Meghna Deka. Well, the gangs of Canada are running riot. From Khalistani goons to Bishnoi's gangs, there's carnage on the watch of Mark Carney. In fact, the Lawrence Bishnoi gang is at the center of a chilling new expose after a threat letter boasted of having access to 1,000 sharpshooters ready to carry out deadly strikes in Canada. The Canadian investigators now say that the gang's footprint stretches across provinces with extortion rackets, guns for hire, drive-by shootings and intimidation calls on WhatsApp, targeting businesses and members of the South Asian community. Lawrence Bishnoi, sitting in a jail in India, allegedly carried out assassination of Sidhu Moosewala, Baba Siddiqui in India. Now his gang has been linked to threats and extortion bids to Bollywood stars such as Salman Khan, Ranveer Singh, and now they are expanding their terror ops into Canada. Tonight, we decode Bishnoi's Canada terror trail. The alleged 1,000 shooters boast, the extortion empire, and the drive-by shootings. First, watch how they unleash their terror in drive-by shootings on the streets of Canada with their guns for hire. The assassination of music icon Sidhu Moosewala had sent, remember, shockwaves far beyond India's borders. In fact, it all happened in broad daylight. One of the country's most celebrated artists. He was gunned down in a killing that stunned millions. Investigators later alleged that the plot was linked to Lawrence Bishnoi gang and its criminal network. The case had exposed the reach, the influence and the audacity of modern organized crime of the Bishnoi gang. Even years later, the murder remains one of the most consequential and closely watched gangland killings in recent memory. And it's not just Sidhu Moosewala. Bollywood superstar Salman Khan has remained to be one of the most high-profile figures allegedly targeted by the Lawrence Bishnoi gang. Over the years, a series of threats and intimidation calls, all of them were made to people who were linked to Salman Khan. In fact, this continued under the threats which were issued by Lawrence Bishnoi and his gang. Renewed attention has come in after gunfire was reported as well. And not just that, there's also assassination of veteran politician Baba Siddiqui, which sent shockwaves through India's political establishment. The brazen killing had reignited concerns over the growing reach of organized criminal networks. Investigators subsequently had examined the alleged links between the attack and Lawrence Bishnoi gang as well. Well, the case had drawn international attention and triggered off high-profile manhunt as well as investigation. Not just that, others too in Bollywood were targeted by the Bishnoi gang. Remember, Bollywood star Ranveer Singh, his name too surfaced in reports which were concerning alleged threats which were linked to Lawrence Bishnoi gang. The reports highlighted growing concerns about the gang's reach much beyond the traditional criminal circles. Security agencies monitored the situation amidst heightened attention on threats against public figures as well. And what has happened now? Well, the Canadian police, they have released a statement this morning itself regarding the Lawrence Bishnoi gang and a purported letter allegedly linked to the group, which claimed to command more than 1,000 shooters across Canada. Well, this is what the Canadian police have said in a deposition, that the Lawrence Bishnoi gang's letter claims that he has a force of 1,000+ shooters available. The police say that the letter outlined their criminal network in Canada. That the Canadian police received letter from the Bishnoi gang and it had warned businesses to pay their tax. Tax, of course, means extortion. But let's also take a moment to understand who the Bishnoi gang actually are and why law enforcement agencies across multiple countries are now paying close attention to them. Well, who is it led by? Of course, Lawrence Bishnoi. But here's the interesting bit. Where does he operate his gang from? The Sabarmati jail in Gujarat. Sitting inside the jail, he's got an international terror trail which spreads all the way across to Canada, allegedly. Who are the targets? Mostly, the Lawrence Bishnoi gang in Canada targets South Asian business owners. The crimes allegedly involve extortion, money from businesses, guns for hire, to threaten anyone, to intimidate people, rivals. And who are the foot soldiers? Indian nationals in Canada. That they are merely hired guns who are paid a very paltry sum. They are being told that this is the emotional connection to their home. They literally are brainwashing young boys in Canada, Indian nationals, many of them, who are now being made to work as foot soldiers for the Bishnoi gang. Well, let's also tell you what the Royal Canadian Mounted Police had to say about the Bishnoi gang. Now, this is a report that has been reported extensively across Canadian media. It says that the Bishnoi gang is a violent criminal network, that it is continuing to expand across Canada. It has driven more by profit than politics or religion. That doesn't matter. Essentially, not politics or religion. It is only driven by profits, by money. That it is involved in extortion and in contract killings. This is what the RCMP report says, as cited by the Canadian media. But it's not just the Bishnoi gang, viewers. Remember, Canadian authorities recently had announced the arrest of 17 alleged members of so-called gang Four Brothers. That's what it's called, Four Brothers, as part of a major organized crime investigation. The police allege that this group, you can see the members there on your screens, this is another group along with Lawrence Bishnoi, which is operating out of Canada. Now, this group was involved in a sophisticated extortion network which targeted the members of South Asian community. Well, the arrest followed months of coordinated investigations spanning across multiple jurisdictions. So what really has happened? We are going to listen once again to the drive-by shootings, because this is real. Mind you, what has been captured on the CCTV footage, you'll be able to gauge how serious and alarming the situation is if this is what's happening on the streets of Canada. Watch the gangs run riot. What does it really mean? Not just for Canada, but internationally as well. A lot of them on their target are citizens of South Asian descent as well. Joining us today on the show, we have Dean Baxendale, international publisher and columnist at the Sunday Guardian. He's joining us live from Toronto. Also joining us, Kash Heat. He is the former West Vancouver police chief. He's also the former Minister of Public Safety and the Solicitor General of British Columbia. He's joining us live from Vancouver. Thank you so much, Kash Heat, for joining us. I'm going to start with you. How disturbing is the fact that there seem to be, from Khalistani gangs to now Bishnoi gang, running riot under the Carney dispensation? Earlier too, there were charges of appeasement in the previous dispensation, but it doesn't appear that Carney has his ducks in a row when it comes to fighting terrorists such as this.
Well, let me tell you, it's very serious here in Canada. We've been victims of this type of behavior, not only from people that allege to be from the Bishnoi group, but other copycat individuals that are causing havoc within the South Asian community. I think it's important to remember that with the number of extortions that do occur here in Canada, whether it's in Brampton, Ontario, or Surrey, British Columbia, there are a lot of people that are involved in it, just not one particular group. But what I've called out right from the outset is the fact that law enforcement here in Canada, driven by the government, was slow to respond to the havoc, to the terror of this particular group. And what has happened is they perpetuated their violence right across the country. So when we get notes of this nature saying that Lawrence Bishnoi has 1,000 shooters on the ground in Canada, it's concerning, but I can tell you a lot of it is bravado attitude at this particular point. Yes, their gang has been known for violent behavior, but at the end of the day, we have to really recognize the fact that it may have started with a group, a small cell, and it has now expanded to several individuals across several countries been involved in it, just not necessarily the Bishnoi gang, who is, from what our intelligence tells us, is still running things from where he is in India.
But Kashid, if you can tell us, you may be privy to more information and also intel notes. How wide is the Bishnoi gang? He has boasted, at least that gang has boasted, that they have about over 1,000 sharpshooters. How bad is it? If it's an exaggeration, what should be it?
It is an exaggeration because, that's like saying, well, you've got 1,000 of these so-called gangsters and shooters here in Canada. Well, we have 75,000 police officers, so your odds aren't pretty good if we're looking at that. What he does in the characterization of what he does is based on fear. So if in fact this letter that went to the police here in British Columbia is true, I don't believe it has roots from the Bishnoi gang. I think it's people that are followers, possibly of him, but are others that are trying to intimidate not only the police from reacting to this and putting those responsible behind jail, but they're trying to spread the terror to the South Asian community, the businesses, the people that they are actually threatening. Absolutely.
But Dean Baxendale, why is it happening in the first place? How is it that they are being allowed? Because there are clearly red flags. And these are reports which date back to several years when there have been red flags of these gangs of Canada who have been expanding their operations onto your side. Is it appeasement? Is it politics? Why?
Well, it's probably a bit of all of it. I mean, Canada, has not been reacting, and we certainly have not been preventing this. This has been going on for decades. But what we've seen over the last decade in particular is the infiltration by organized crime groups throughout Canada, often linked to transnational organized crime. What we're finding is the Bishnoi gang and other groups within the Indian diaspora community are being leveraged and also, for profit, are working with the cartels and with Chinese triads in terms of movement of cocaine, fentanyl, marijuana across the country and downstream into the United States. This has been a problem for some time, identified originally by Gary Clement, author at Optimum Publishing, in his book Undercover, that this organized crime element, movement of contraband goods, going into extortion has been going on for decades. And the Canadian government, because of diaspora politics, often has let this manifest inside our own country, believing that we can contain it. We can no longer contain it. This is a national security threat, and it's a security threat to the diaspora Indian community here in our country who came here who want to live in peace. And we need to ensure that we're going to protect those people and not let the Bishnoi gang continue on this path of destruction and ultimately creating chaos and extortion within the Indian diaspora community as well. This is going on in the Chinese diaspora community. It's going on in the Iranian community. All of these gangs are linked and work together for profit and ultimately for malign state interference and influence operations here in our country. And it's done in other jurisdictions, but Canada is particularly bad right now.
Canada seems to be, getting worse. But then when it comes specifically to the Bishnoi gang again, Kashid, if you can explain to us what makes or appears to be making it even more dangerous is that it's not really fighting for any specific religion or any kind of an ideology. It is essentially just guns for hire. Is that what really makes it so dangerous? And how are they ensuring that it's harder for the local law enforcement to crack down?
Well, let me tell you, reputation is everything to these gangsters, these thugs, and they've perpetuated their reputation going forward. Canada, in my opinion, did something which really boosted their reputation, the Bishnoi gang, by naming them a terrorist group. We've got over 85 terrorist groups named here in Canada, and it's not making one iota of a difference in how we deal with
that's
them.
Interesting.
They operate on intimidation, and that's what they want to do. If you look at the advent of, for example, the gang behavior here in Canada, you will see a lot of that comes from the bravado attitude within the South Asian community. And that is exactly what we're seeing here being played out. Yes, we've had these extortion rackets in play with some of the other ethnic communities, but not the violent nature that we have. So there's a combination of what actually goes on. The easy access to firearms here in Canada certainly makes it difficulty. The fact that we had lax immigration rules where people came in to Canada under the auspices of foreign workers or international students and they were here to particularly cause havoc to our community. The fact that some of them did come over as legitimate workers or students here in Canada, and they transitioned into the behavior because of the profit mode of this.
Absolutely.
So there's various factors that have taken place, and if Canada looks back, as the professor pointed out, on the lack of proper policy to deal with this that allowed this to happen, and the lack of proper reactive response before you even get proactive to it, it becomes very, very difficult. And it's all based, you know, if you go back on the bravado, the intimidation attitude, and they're going to make money because of that, whether it's drug trafficking or hits or something of that nature.
In fact, I was reading about the mannerisms in which they are using and rather recruiting the foot soldiers. One of them says that they are relying on Indian nationals. They are paid very small amounts of money, and they are given a sense of belonging. Dean Baxendale.
Yep.
So they have a ready-made people that they are tapping into, ready-made perhaps a pool, if you can call it, of foot soldiers that they are tapping into, mostly very young, impressionable, vulnerable, and also perhaps wanting money at the time.
Absolutely.
Yes, well, this goes...
They can get a hold of a firearm. It's a very operational.
I'll just come back to you. I'll just come back to you in a bit, Kashid, but I'll just first go across to Dean Baxendale. I'll come back to you.
So yes, actually, the recruitment techniques are very similar, and we've mapped this back to terrorist organizations. If you look at the jihadist terrorism organizations and online recruitment, yes, they provide young people with a sense of purpose, a sense of an opportunity to make a difference, sometimes ideologically, certainly on the jihadi terrorist side. We're bringing out a big book on this, on 9/11 and the state of jihadi terrorism this fall. But this speaks to a recruitment technique that has been very successful. And if I'm an individual, young individual, I'm looking to move up, I'm looking to make money, and I'm given this opportunity within this group that seems to be, providing me with this upward mobility in society, I may take that on. And the Bishnoi gang and gangs like that are offering this kind of, shall we say, salvation for young people who are looking for identity and purpose. And I think Cash, has this right. The designating them as a terrorist group is great, and that was long overdue. But actually, we have to do something about it, and we have to work as a team with people within diaspora community, leaders there, leaders in law enforcement, leaders in academia, to build up policy narratives to actually combat and tackle this. And this is a political problem for Mark Carney, and actually it feeds into the current Kuzma negotiations in Washington, D.C., which I am a part of behind the scenes. This really we need to understand and get a hold of this, that our security is making sure communities are safe and that we can be profitable together, but in a safe environment with communities working together, not allowing drugs, not allowing extortion, not allowing gangs to take over our country. And that's exactly what is taking place.
Kashid, that sense of belonging, that is what perhaps makes it the easiest target to tap into the diaspora?
I don't believe at this particular point, when we talk about the gang members that are getting involved in the traditional gangs, I believe there's a sense of belonging here. But what we found is, for example, they've created their own little group within Ruffian Group, and it's all based on they can make money instead of working at Tim Hortons or McDonald's here on minimum wage to support what they're doing. They can go out and get paid $1,500 to go out and shoot up someone's house and provided a firearm to do that. So what we've got is operations that are targeting these groups. For example, and let me lead you through this. This is a rather quick. They have a house that they go to pick up their firearms and get their orders of what they're supposed to do. You get 4 or 5 of these young students or workers. They go there, they pick up the gun, they're given the address, they're given the target, they go there, they shoot up the house, they intimidate the people within it, and then they return the guns to this particular house. And the police have been very successful in conducting operations targeting these particular houses where these people are doing this. So there's a lot more pieces to the puzzle than the traditional, as a professor laid out, a sense of belonging. I think we've gone beyond that. I think we've got them that are encouraged and motivated by the fact they can make some quick money in a short period of time, and they're not scared of the consequences of what may happen in Canada.
Perhaps that's where the political will of Mike Carney's dispensation and the governance is going to be coming into question. Do they have the will? Can they put the appeasement, the politics aside, and really crack down to clean up the streets? Well, we certainly hope so. Really appreciated Dean Baxway as well as Cash Heat for joining us here on the show. Both of you made very relevant points. At the end of it, when there are gangs such as the Bishnoi gang, when you have the Khalistani gangs running riot, can Carney stop this carnage? That's the question. We leave it there. Thank you so much for watching Decoding Now.